Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'll be talking about the triangles of the neck. So I would like to represent all the triangles in just a simple schematic representation so that we'll be able to recollect all the boundaries of all the triangles in just few seconds. Okay, let us get into our topic. Okay, now so I would like to draw some schematic diagram, not like what we draw anatomically in the examination. It is just for your memory purpose. So consider this as your chin. And this is the base of the mandible. And these are the angle of the mandible. And now this is the mastoid process. And let you consider this as the superior nuchal line, and this will be the symphysis menti. And below this, the under midline structure is the hyoid bone. Below the hyoid bone, we'll be having the sternum. That is a manubrium part. And attached to it, we'll be having the clavicles. Attached to it, we'll be having the acromion process of the scapula. Right. So, what do we know? A quadrangular shaped side of a neck is divided into two parts, that is the anterior triangle and posterior triangle, by means of an important muscle called the sternocleidomastoid muscle. Now, as the name itself suggests, it arises from the sternum, arises from the clavicle, and goes insert into the mastoid process. Now let us draw it. It arises from the sternocleidomastoid. Okay. Now, another muscle is the trapezius muscle, which will be arising from different parts. The most part is the superior nuchal line and get inserted into the clavicle along the spine, upper part of the spine, and also let us take it is attached to the scapula. So, the anteriorly here the sternocleidomastoid and posteriorly the trapezius. Posteriorly the trapezius, anteriorly the sternocleidomastoid, thus forms a triangular structure. This is called the posterior triangle. Okay, this is the posterior triangle. And now we will go with the next muscle. We will draw the same thing on this side also. Okay, yeah. Now let us draw we know this posterior triangle is further divided into the upper occipital triangle and lower subclavian triangle by the inferior belly of the omohyoid. We know from the hyoid bone, we get the superior belly of omohyoid and the inferior belly of the omohyoid. So now this will be the inferior belly of the omohyoid will be dividing the posterior triangle into the superior occipital part and the inferior subclavian part. Okay. Now, here in the same fashion, you get the same thing. Now, the digastric muscles. So, digastric muscles, anterior belly again arises from the hyoid bone. This is the anterior bellies, and posterior bellies also arise here and they go attached to the mastoid process. So now let us go with the triangles. So the part of a triangle between the sternocleidomastoid and the trapezius comes like the posterior triangle. Okay, so in the posterior triangle, further, this is the occipital triangle and this is the subclavian triangle, which is divided by the inferior belly of the omohyoid. This is the sternocleidomastoid. This is the trapezius. So now let us say the boundaries of the posterior triangle: anteriorly formed by the posterior border of the sternocleidomastoid, posteriorly formed by the anterior border of the trapezius, inferiorly by the middle one-third of the clavicle, and the apex is facing upwards, that is a meeting point of both the muscles at the superior nuchal line. So yeah, we have got this boundaries of the posterior triangle. So after this inferior belly of the omohyoid muscle is dividing, now this is the occipital triangle, this is the subclavian. Now let us talk about their boundaries. Occipital anteriorly, sternocleido posteriorly, trapezius inferiorly, inferior belly of the omohyoid, and next subclavian. So subclavian anteriorly sternocleido, superiorly inferior belly of omohyoid, and inferiorly the middle one third of the clavicle. So the posterior triangle is done. Now, the anterior triangle, the rest of it, what you are seeing, this is the anterior triangle part. This is all the anterior triangle part. This anterior triangle is further divided into many other triangles by many muscles. So now, let me talk about the submental triangle. Submental, the name itself suggests mental, just below the chin. See, this is the chin and this is the symphysis mentae just present below the chin and above the hyoid. This triangle represents the submental triangle. I have already told you, these are the anterior belly of the digastric. So, between two anterior belly of the digastric on the either sides and base on the hyoid bone forms a triangular structure called the submental triangle. So, now say what are the boundaries of submental? On the either sides, the anterior belly of the digastric, the base, hyoid bone, and the apex is the chin. Okay, this is the submental triangle. And now, the submandibular triangle or also called the digastric triangle. Why so it is called? Because it is present between two bellies of the digastric. This is the anterior belly of the digastric. This is the posterior belly of the digastric. Posterior belly of the digastric. Between them what you find is the digastric triangle. Digastric triangle. Now let me tell the boundaries. So anteriorly, the anterior belly of the digastric, posteriorly posterior belly of the digastric, and apex is at the hyoid bone, and the superior boundary or the base is formed by the base of the mandible. Ho gaya. Your submandibular triangle is also done. Your submandibular triangle is over, and this is your posterior triangle. Yeah, now coming to the carotid triangle. So yeah, carotid triangle, this is the part called the carotid triangle, bound antro inferiorly by the superior belly of the omohyoid, superiorly by the posterior belly of the superiorly by the posterior belly of the digastric and posteriorly by the sternocleidomastoid. This is the carotid triangle. Why so it is called carotid triangle? Because its main content is the carotid sheath. So it is called the carotid triangle. Yeah, your boundaries and carotid triangle is also over. Let us mark it out. This is your carotid triangle. Yeah. Now what is left over? The muscular triangle. So muscular triangle, as the name suggests, it is actually made up of the strap muscles or also called the ribbon muscles. So it is called a muscular triangle. So yeah, it is also bounded antero-superiorly by the superior belly of the omohyoid, postero-inferiorly by the sternocleidomastoid, and superiorly by the hyoid bone. There forms your muscular triangle. Even your muscular triangle is over. Okay guys, this is all just brief about the triangles of the neck. Hope you understood and it's a bit easier. Okay guys, thank you for watching my video. For more details on the triangles of the neck, keep